This is Andy Purewal for Boxing Social in association with Betfred, and I'm delighted to be joined by Matthew Macklin over Zoom. Matt, first and foremost, how you doing?
I'm not bad, Andy. Not bad. Yourself?
I'm keeping good. I'm keeping well, man. I'm keeping well. So it's good to hear you're doing well yourself. A bit of boxing talk for us to get on with. Start off with this coming weekend. First thing that broke today, Peter Fury testing positive for COVID. Just kind of what was your reaction to that, which meant that the Savannah Marshall Hannah Rankin fight was now off?
I just thought, what a shame for both girls. Do you know what I mean? You've trained so hard. You know, you're a couple of days away, biggest fight of your life, and then it's off. It's just so frustrating and disappointing for them. So my heart went out for them, and obviously Peter too, because he's worked hard alongside Savannah. I obviously hope he's okay. I don't know if he's. I don't think he's showing any symptoms, but he's failed the test. So touch wood and thoughts with Peter. Hopefully he's fine. Big strong man. I'm sure he'll be okay. But frustrating, yeah. What can you say? It's a shame, and yeah, it's a hit to the show because it was good. That was going to be a good fight, I think.
Is this kind of, do you feel this will be a little bit of a worrying trend? We've seen, the Golden, a couple of fights,
Yeah.
The contract had to be pulled recently. Frank Warren had a couple of fights pulled as well. Do you feel this is going to be kind of a rising trend that we've got to kind of be ready for?
The worry, isn't it? I mean, the Jazza Dickens Ryan Walsh fight, that's a fight. That's a fight I was looking forward to when the Golden Contract started, thinking these two come together, and they both boxed so well through the Golden Contract. It's like, whoa, this is a real tasty fight here. And then, that happened. So really frustrating. And, if you're a promoter and from the broadcaster's point of view as well, and the fans and the fighters, everyone, it is a worry. It is a worry, definitely. But what can we do? What can anyone do?
The show obviously goes on, as you say, we can't really do anything, so the show goes on. And moving on to the rest of the card for this coming Saturday, Luis Ritson versus Miguel Vasquez. Miguel Vasquez obviously suffered a few defeats over the past few years, and his record's kind of a win-lose, win-lose, win-lose type of format. What do you think he has left, and what do you think Luis will gain from this fight if he's victorious?
You know what? I seen Miguel Vasquez box years ago. I think he was world champion at the time at lightweight. I'm going back to like 2012. It was in El Paso on the undercard of Andy Lee against Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. And I remember he was massive for the weight. I remember, I was thinking he must struggle to do lightweight. Anyway, he's obviously moved up now to super lightweight, so he's getting older as well. He has lost a few. Hasn't been stopped many times, though. Josh Taylor got him out of there, I think, in 9 rounds. So, he's a tough, old, very experienced pro. Moving up in weight might give him a bit more energy, lease of life, perhaps. He's certainly got the experience to give Ritson problems. Now, I'm thinking that Ritson should have too much ambition, too much youth, energy, all that type of stuff. And he should win. But I think it'll be a tough fight for him. I think Miguel Vasquez will, his experience and know-how will give Ritson problems. But ultimately, I think Ritson should come through it.
Do you think if Luis comes through with this in a convincing fashion in some way and he's victorious, there's been talk about a potential Regis Prograis fight. Do you think he'd be ready for that kind of step up on the back of a potential win against Miguel Vasquez?
Not sure. Maybe another fight in the right in it, following on a similar fight from this. I think Miguel Vasquez isn't the fighter he was, but he's certainly more experienced than anyone Ritson has fought. That said, Ritson's win against I had a memory blank. Robbie Jr. was a really good win. I think I think he'll have gone up a few notches because of that fight. It was a really good performance. It was a brilliant fight. I think he'll be a much better fighter now from that experience. So I'll be interested to see his performance against Miguel Vasquez, because Miguel Vasquez was he's an experienced fighter. He's been in there with a lot of good fighters, former world champion. He's lost a few lately, win some, lose some type of thing, but at a good level, and not too many people stop him. So I think if Ritson was able to stop him, that would be impressive.
Moving on and through the rest of the card, Kez Ashfaq versus Mark Leach, a very good fight. How do you actually see that one playing out, Matt?
So that's an interesting one because they've obviously trained in the same gym together. Kez was with Calvin Travis, who's Nigel Travis's father. They've been in the gym together. They have sparred, so they know each other. So it's an interesting one because, sometimes when you spar with someone, you know each other. You can cancel each other out a little bit because you kind of know each other's moves. You can read each other and that, you don't fall for the feints as much, or if someone's trying to set traps, you know what they're doing. You can read them better because you know them. So that adds another dimension to the fight. Is Mark Leach really, naturally is he as big as Kez? I don't know. Kez was a good amateur. It's a good fight. And the fact that they know each other so well does give it a bit of an interesting dynamic. Adds an interesting dynamic to it.
Got the return of Joe Laws as well. Everyone knows how vocal Joe is over social media. Is it important that he wins, and he wins in kind of a convincing fashion on Saturday night, knowing that, again, he's been so vocal and there's going to be kind of a mounting pressure on him to step up and start looking at title fights and what have you?
Yeah, well, Joe Laws, to me, is a kid that's kind of made a name for himself by being a bit of a character. But now we want to see him let his boxing make a name for himself. His ability has to match his personality and his marketability. So this will be an interesting one because obviously he's boxed in front of a big crowd in Newcastle. He's obviously a fan favourite. Comes into the ring with massive support. So there'll be no support on Saturday night. There won't be that atmosphere to feed off. But that might not be a bad thing. We might see a calmer Joe Laws. We might see him use his brain a bit more and box more. So it'll be interesting to see whether it affects him positively, or if he fails to get up for it, or if he looks undermotivated. He shouldn't do, because he's in a stage in his career now where this is a good platform for him again, and he wants to win, look good, and move on. And like I say, build a reputation because of his boxing ability, not just because of his personality.
I mean, you've got Ellie Scottneys making her pro debut as well. I know she's been waiting, it must be about 8 months now since the original fight for her debut was scheduled and then obviously pulled. What should she actually expect heading into an empty arena on your debut? I imagine it's not something which many imagine in very different circumstances. What should she expect when she enters the ring, though?
No, I think a lot of the best fighters in the world have made their pro debuts early on in an empty arena. Even when you've been on the big cards, early doors, there aren't many people at the show. So listen, I was an ABA champion turning pro. I had quite a lot of hype. I was boxing at 6:30 in the evening. There was a handful of people. There was a few people there that come to support me, but the arena wasn't packed or anything like that. Do you know what I mean? Definitely not. So, and I think a lot of Ricky Hatton, a lot of people when they've made their debuts haven't necessarily boxed in front of big crowds. This is still a big show in the sense that there was meant to be a world title shot on it with Savannah Marshall. Obviously, Lewis Ritson is closing in on being a contender. He wants to he's looking to get a shot at the world title. He's fighting a former world champion, so it is a big card. But I don't think she'd have been expecting to be in a massive arena on a pro debut anyway. So I think I think it'll be what she expected.
But you've also got Tommy Ward versus Thomas Sombre, which completes a bill, not necessarily in this order that we've gone through. Yeah. But again, just what are your thoughts about Tommy's going to be a heavy favourite going into it, especially with Thomas coming up a couple weights from his last fight?
Yeah, there's obviously a size advantage there, and I think he's a bit of a well-kept secret, isn't he? Well, he's 29-0, I think. He's been pro a while now, but he's just been in the background, really, learning his trade, improving, growing. So whoever's been managing him, they've obviously took their time with him. They haven't rushed him, and they've just built him nicely. And like I say, now he's 29-0. He's experienced. He's seasoned. Not a big puncher, so he's got many, many, many rounds under his belt. And maybe they feel now, look, this is the time now. I think they want to make a move for him, and I think they should do. I think he's You know, like I say, he's 29-0. I'm looking forward to seeing him live. I've never watched him live. I've never seen him box live, so I'm looking forward to that one.
Matt, just moving back, was just over 2 weeks ago now, Joshua Buatsi and his victory over Marco Calic. We never had a chance to catch up after the show. What did you make of Josh's win? It's certainly much tougher fight than what probably many expected in the end.
Yeah, because look, listen, Joshua Buatsi's one of the, you know, he's not a prospect, but on the work in terms of where we see him going, you know, prospect to become a world champion. He's still an improving fighter. Don't think he's a million miles away from fighting for a world title. So he needed a fight like that, you know. And Khalid is a guy that, in many ways, you know, he was someone that was a very good amateur, very experienced. He boxed at 91 kilos, so really he was a heavyweight, you know, which is like the cruiserweight really in the amateurs, 91 kilo. So from a physicality point of view, he's used to being hit by bigger men, being up close and personal in the clinches with bigger men, physically strong. So I thought it would be a little bit of a difficult fight for Josh. I thought Josh should win, but I thought Khalid should definitely have his moments. And I was surprised at how successful Khalid was with his hand speed. You know, he was catching Josh with those lead right hands. You know, and I think that's obviously something he'll look at. Look, technically, style-wise, all that, was it the most vintage Joshua Buatsi performance? No, it wasn't. But it was but he found a performance and he found the win through adversity. That's a box ticked. Never ever doubted that he wouldn't, but it doesn't matter. You still got to do it. You know what I mean? So, you know, because when he fights for a world title, there are going to be rounds that he loses. He is going to get caught with shots. He might get hurt. You know, maybe cut. These are things that happen to you in your career as you progress forward, especially when you step into those championship level fights. So I'm glad that he had a bit of adversity in that fight. You know, of course, it's and he, you know, from his, like, I'm not only, you know, Josh, I just commentate on his fights, but if I was a member of his team, while I'd probably be pulling my hair out at things on the night that were worked on, him getting caught with shots, especially getting caught with the right hands and the amount of right hands he got caught with, I'd be frustrated and I'd be thinking, right, that's something we've got to iron out in the gym and work on, definitely. But I'd also be pleased that even with the injury in the eye, losing a couple of rounds, getting caught, maybe, you know, he wasn't unsung, there was rust, all the rest of it. But despite all of that, he found the win. And when he hurt him, he got the job done. So that's, for me, if I was his coach or manager, that'd be a box tick for me.
Moving forwards, and on the back of that win for Josh, there's a lot of talk about what's next for him, and Callum Johnson's name certainly coming up a lot in the immediate aftermath of it as well. What do you make of that fight if we see it? And if you're in Callum's shoes, do you take confidence from Josh's victory over Marco Calic, or?
Yeah, he will. Of course he will, because he's seen him getting caught with shots. And Callum Johnson knows he can bang. And he's bang, he's aggressive, he puts shots together fast. He's a good fighter. You know, he was a Commonwealth Games gold medalist. He was a good amateur himself. You know, he's a solid light heavyweight. He's fought for a world title against Beterbiev, and he hurt Beterbiev. You know, so, you know, Callum Johnson is 34 years old, and I think Buatsi's only going to get better and better. I don't think Callum Johnson's going to get better. I think Callum is the finished article. You know, he's only going to get older, in fact. You know, so I actually, from Callum, if I'm Joe Gallagher or, you know, whoever's managing Callum Johnson, I'm thinking, you know what, let's do this fight now. Let's do this fight now, because he's only going to get more experience, more season. He's going to improve. I'm thinking, I'm Callum Johnson, I'm 34 years old. I'm not really improving. I'm the finished article now. This is it. Let's make these fights. You know, if I can get a world title shot, of course I'd love that. But if it's not happening, I want a big fight. I don't just want to sit idle, waiting to maybe get my shot. Let's do the Buatsi fight. You know, because, like I said, the longer it goes on, the more it swings to Buatsi. Right now, a lot of people don't know. It's a good fight, isn't it? So, you know, like I said, I think the longer it goes on, the more, you know, Buatsi's improving. Callum Johnson's getting older. So from Callum Johnson's point of view, I'd jump at that fight now. And it's a great fight for Buatsi too, because, you know, that's another fight. If he beats Callum Johnson, because that, you know, that's going to be a tough fight. That's going to be a great fight. Callum Johnson's going to ask questions of Buatsi. So, you know, again, if Buatsi wins it and he comes, wins and comes through, again, he'll be a better fighter on the other side of that fight.
There's something I was about to ask you, Matt. In a hypothetical world, and we do see that fight, how do you actually see it playing out?
Look, it's a great fight. I think Callum Johnson's very dangerous early. Very dangerous early. But I think Buatsi's pretty solid. I don't think I haven't seen any vulnerability there with him. He looks like he holds a good shot. He has got a good defence, although he was getting caught with lead right hands. But I think he'll tighten up. I think that's something he can tighten up on. Look, I'd probably favour Buatsi, but listen, I definitely won't be writing off Callum Johnson. That's a proper fight. That's what that is. That's a proper fight.
Just moving forwards, Matt, just a couple of other topics I wanted to touch on. Obviously, the big news that came out a couple of days ago, or a few days ago now, Deontay Wilder versus Tyson Fury, the third fight, the trilogy fight, is no longer happening. Just what was your reaction to it, Matt, when you found out and saw yourself?
Yeah, I wasn't shocked. I wasn't shocked. It really does Deontay Wilder really want to go straight back in there with Tyson Fury? Regardless of all the excuses, he battered him in that. He battered him in that second fight. The first fight, I thought Fury won, and that was after the 2.5 year layoff and a couple of nothing, glorified spars really to go back in there. And he should have got the decisions, and he got put down, and he took his shots and got up. So then then in the second fight to back him up and destroy him the way he did. I mean, down to what I don't want to go straight back in there with him. But, obviously contractually. And I think it was a business decision. If they're them to trigger that rematch clause and do the third fight, that's a business decision. That's not a boxing decision. From a boxing decision, there's no way he'd go near him straight away. You want to build his confidence back up, work on some things. But maybe from a business point of view, the money, that sometimes dictates.
Where do you think Deontay Wilder goes from here, Matt?
I mean, I think, like I say, money can dictate, can't it, sometimes? But from a boxing point of view, if I was in Wilder's team, I'd have probably said take the step aside money when it was being offered. Get as much step aside money as you can. Get something written whereby you'll face the winner of Fury and Joshua. And I'd try and get a win or two, get a couple of wins, get back in the ring, get his confidence back. Because that was a bad defeat. He suffered to Fury. It was a bad defeat. So I'd like I said, if I was managing him, I think getting confidence back first. Have a couple of wins.
Final thing, Matt, before I do let you go to enjoy the rest of your evening. We've got a big and highly anticipated, undisputed lightweight title fight on Saturday night between Vasily Lomachenko and Teofimo Lopez. Just your kind of breakdown of it for me, Matt. How do you expect it to play out?
I mean, it's hard to pick against Lomachenko, isn't it? When you see what a wizard he is in that ring. But Teofimo, he's a good fighter and he can bang. And I tell you what, I don't think anyone has fought Lomachenko yet who has believed they're going to win as much as this kid does. Luke Campbell. I'm not saying these guys didn't believe they could win. But you're boxing Lomachenko. It's a tough order. I'm not saying they didn't think they could win, but it's a tough fight. I think Lopez believes 100% he's going to win. He's got supremely confident. I don't think anyone's faced Lomachenko yet with the same level of belief that they're going to beat him as what Teofimo Lopez has, and that means a lot. Will it be enough? Listen, if I had to put my house on it, no. But I think it's going to be a great fight.
Matt, we will leave that there now, and I will leave you now to enjoy the rest of your evening. I appreciate you giving up some time tonight, and I'll hopefully see you soon. Thank you for your time as always, and thank you for speaking to Boxing Social.
Cheers, Andy.